Hey everybody, welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Rhee and myself, Coach David Syvertsen. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset.
All right, welcome back to the Herd Fit Podcast. I am Coach David Syvertsen. I'm here with my co-host, Dr. and Coach Sam Rhee, and we are here for part two of the awesome interview with Tim Carroll. Last week, we had the initial interview with him. If you didn't listen to it, just rewind a week and go back. It was a lot of good conversation in there. And, Tim's Sierra Nevadas here are still unopened, so we have not had any drinks here yet on a Thursday morning at 9 a.m. But we are going to dive into part two of this interview, which really is going to revolve around, I think, one of the biggest decisions a CrossFit owner is ever going to have to make that has a successful gym. Because I've been asked this a million times over the years, Sam, when are you going to open up another one? You can open up another one? How many are you going to open? What's the goal? And it's almost like peer pressure sometimes that I feel like, okay, am I supposed to?
Well, you've talked about it. You've thought about it.
We have thought about it, but a lot of it comes from peer pressure. Like, part of me wants to keep this thing going as good as well as we can, keep our resources here. But yeah, there's definitely temptations out there that we've already experienced and we're currently experiencing to go do this again somewhere else. Whether it's close or not, that's another discussion for another time. But Tim and Aaron, they're the owners of 3 different gyms, and all at once, three gyms, and they're all like successful, making money, and they have their own staffs, their own programming, all this stuff, own facilities and build outs. Tim, at what point did you and Aaron decide, like, hey, we're crushing it at Berkeley Heights, let's go do this again somewhere else?
Crushing it. I would say that, and I think this is, most people think like, oh, you must have been crushing it, that you just wanted to open up another one to crush it. And I tell people that this story, and I'm totally open and honest with it, is that as, Aaron works solely in the business with me, right? We don't have other sources of income. So when we were looking at our facility at Berkeley Heights, we gotten to a point where we had a good coaching staff that was coaching the majority of the classes. We had a solid foundation, especially pre-COVID. We felt like opening up a second location was actually something we needed to do to almost provide a dual income for our family.
Got it.
It wasn't like we're making money hand over fist, let's go do this over there. We're like, hey, we feel like we've got a good formula, good processes here. We've got the resources to, do a build out. We have staff in place that want to elevate to a general manager role. We're like, let's do this. And then if we can run both equally as well, and obviously the two of us are in it so we can kind of split time, then maybe from a financial side of this things, we would feel a lot more comfortable with planning for retirement and saving for kids' colleges. So that's really more where it came from.
Okay, that's interesting. And I have never talked to you about that. It was more of like, hey, we should do this for our sake. That's like kind of like a Carroll family decision. Like, hey, we should be doing it. Because Ashley and I, Ashley has her own career. And it's like, if we didn't have her income, I don't know. I don't think I could do this. It would be enough for myself, but to support the whole family by myself from Bison alone, it wouldn't be enough.
I mean, it kind of makes sense if you're already putting all of this effort into one. It's less effort to duplicate that and run it at a second. Like, you have efficiencies because you already have one going. So you would have less cost, but more income. It's not like running 2 separate gyms. You're actually, the efficiencies of running both.
Yeah, I would say there's probably like economies of scale there, right? There was sort of a copy and paste with facility layout and equipment and programming and membership management software. There was a lot of things that we knew going into it, so it didn't feel like there was a lot of unknowns. It was just that, okay, we have additional rent and additional staff pay at this point, right? And so those are obviously pretty expensive things, especially in New Jersey. But I felt like if we could get it up to the same point that Berkeley Heights was performing, then we would feel really comfortable. There wouldn't be a want or a need for more at that point.
Mm-hmm. When you started 908 Berkeley Heights, I think the term you used last week was you were just very confident it was going to work out.
Yep.
You knew, and sometimes that's what, when you put your back up against a wall like that, you're going to get it done. Did you have that same level of confidence when you found and agreed to a lease in Westfield?
It was definitely different, mainly because my life personally had changed so much. We had one son. Erin was pregnant with our second son. And so there was more at risk in my mind at that point. What I would say is based on kind of the changing of the CrossFit gyms in that area in Westfield, meaning there was originally a CrossFit Westfield. They had moved to Garwood, which is a town over. Then they ended up going into a facility called Brawl House, and they were just under them. And then that facility closed. There was a lot of turmoil in that area, and we ended up having, because we're not too far from Westfield from our original location in Berkeley Heights, we ended up having maybe 10 or 15 people drive to us in Berkeley Heights.
Okay.
And they would say, oh, yeah, we had all these people down at Westfield, but now a lot of them aren't doing it anymore and all that stuff. And so I was born and raised in Westfield. And so I was like, it'd be cool to open back up in my hometown. Plus, there was already a CrossFit gym there that was, had clients. And I felt like, all right, that's a great town to try to do it. And there's going to be a captive audience. And
got it.
So when we opened up Westfield and did that whole build out and we did a pre-sale, we opened up day one with almost 50 clients, which,
awesome.
For a CrossFit gym in a small suburban town, like that was great.
That's great.
That was huge for us to be able to like start covering the rent pretty much from day one. Cause we took a loan out and there, the build out the second time around was so much more expensive than the first time around. And that's something else I think you need to think about if you're going to open up another gym right now, versus my first build out, which was maybe 30 grand, now it's like, I feel if you want to open up a second gym, you're in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, building this place out compared to our previous it was about 30 grand time one. It was over 100 grand for this one.
And you didn't cannibalize any of your members from your original place. You're pretty far away. Like, how far is Westfield from Berkeley Heights anyway?
It's like, 8 miles, but if you drive it and there's any sort of traffic, you're probably 20, 25 minutes away. And there's some, like Route 78 and Route 22 are in between us. So you have these natural barriers that people are like, I don't even want to cross those.
Right. Yeah.
But, to your point, like, did you cannibalize? We did, but I think sometimes shows also need to think, if we don't cannibalize ourselves, who will? Right? Like, if we've got people that are already on the fringe traveling and there's this dead space in a town that is, affluent and densely populated, like, someone's going to open there.
Yeah.
And someone did just open a CrossFit gym in Westfield yesterday or the day before. Like, literally.
Right now?
Like, I could walk to them in like 4.5 minutes.
Right now, you're saying?
Right now.
Oh, okay. So this is not years ago.
No, this is literally 2 days ago. Someone just opened up another CrossFit gym.
And how does that make you feel?
We should get into that.
I think it's the first time that in the 15 years that someone else has opened up so close to me promoting CrossFit, who also has multiple locations. And it was a former client of mine that runs this. So I don't know. It doesn't make you feel good, but to focus on them would detract from focusing on what we're doing and how we're attempting to improve ourselves. And so, if anything, it just lights a fire to make sure we're not resting on our laurels and just do a better job.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, we said we're going to go off on some tangents. I think that's something to talk about. And again, I'm not going to throw shade on anyone, but we have not really dealt with that much. We've had a little blip with that over the past year. But it's every gym owner's worst nightmare. At the same time, you shouldn't feel this way, but that a whole group of your people are going to leave and go start open down the street. And it's not that it's going to put you under. No. It just adds. It just takes a piece of your pie away.
For sure. Like that's another gym that is now in the way of new leads potentially coming in. Right. Yeah. They'll try them out, and depending on what they're offering for their upfront offer, and they're new, maybe they're giving better deals out or whatever it is. Like, it's just one more obstacle in the way of trying to get people in. And as I've told you in the past, it's not like we have hundreds of leads every month coming in. We're a CrossFit gym, right? We're immediately niching down into like the top, 1% of people who want to do fitness.
Yeah. Now, do you have relationships, and has this changed over the years, with gym owners that are within 20, 30-minute drive of you? It's one thing to have a relationship with someone that's an hour away. Like, you're not going to lose any business to that person. And, I know for the CrossFitters like Jason Ackerman, we'll talk about this, best hour of their day. It's like you should be supporting other affiliates, even the ones near you, because it should rise the tide, and everyone should get better, and we should all push each other. And at the end of the day, you don't need that many people to be a successful CrossFit gym. You just don't. And there's so many people in this area that, hey, maybe that CrossFit down the road introduces CrossFit to someone that eventually wants to find a different gym, and hey, you're right there. Like that person might actually put money in your pocket at some point. How have you had relationships with people in your immediate area with that also own a gym, or has it just been a little too, do I say, awkward, competitive, fake?
That's a good question. I think most affiliate owners would say, 10 years ago that we were all pitted against each other.
Yeah.
Right? We're not sharing any resources. I mean, I had a specific example, which I don't fault him at all to this day, and actually have a much better relationship with Greg Arsenic from Gorilla. But I reached out to him day one, like, hey, man, I'm opening up this affiliate. And he's kind of like, I'm not going to give you the keys to the castle. Yeah. Like, you got to figure this stuff out on your own, right? I'm asking him all these questions, and he's like, no, man, you're going to figure that out. And so that was a good lesson for me. But then I felt like when other people came to me, I was kind of like, trying to hold the secrets. And I don't think any of us are holding any sort of secrets, right? What happens inside of your gym is because of you. Right. No, you can tell someone what you want, but the way they run it is the way they run it. So I think over the years, though, hearing more of that stuff from Best Hour of the Day, like, we've tried to make those relationships. So, like, the closest affiliate to me is probably Leonardo Munoz at Veracity, CrossFit Veracity. Okay. They're in Summit. I've been friendly with him for a long time. I know all the affiliate owners around us. I would say that it's a neutral to positive relationship. I don't have a lot of negative relationships with other affiliate owners.
That's good. And I think that's something that a lot of affiliate owners that are listening, that are trying to reach the level in which Tim's gym has gotten to, that stuff, just take it from us, because we both kind of feel the same way, is stay away from the petty stuff of the rivalry of different gyms.
How do you feel about your neighborhood affiliates?
I mean, we have a great relationship with Waldwick, and I think probably is the closest one. They helped us out enormously when we had the announcement. They let our members go there, and I still talk to those guys pretty often. I think some things, some petty things from, like, again, early days of ownership where you hear something said or they make a post about this. I mean, I think everyone's guilty of that at some point, and then you grow up or you don't. And if you feel like you've grown up past that and you feel like others are still kind of playing in the mud down there, you simply just have to ignore them. So does that mean I have a distaste for people, or I'm going out of my way to talk shade about a gym? Absolutely not. You just ignore. Like, I always feel like in those situations, the best thing is to focus on your affiliate, make it as good as possible, and not get into petty back and forth fights. And if someone does ask you for help, you do it. Because some of the gyms that we haven't had the best relationship with in the past, I know for a fact that we've put a lot of money in their pocket through competitions, thousands and thousands of dollars. So you can't really go down the path of like, hey, a few of our members went to that gym, screw that gym. Like, well, that might have been your fault, actually. And I think that's a big underlying issue, that we always point the finger at other people when something goes wrong. Well, if we do have members, or if I lose members to another gym, my first thing will be like, we didn't do a good enough job for that person to stay. If we have members from your gym, and that's really what
I want to agree with you on that, like, wholeheartedly. I think this transcends any sort of industry, but we seem to be in an age with lack of accountability, right? And so one of the biggest things I can always think about is, no one stole my member. I lost my member, right? Like, it's why didn't I do a good enough job? Because if I was doing a great job, right, outside of them moving, right, like, they shouldn't leave, right? My coach shouldn't leave if I'm providing them a great job, right? So I don't feel like people poach your members or steal them. Yeah, maybe they offered them a good deal. They bought them out of your contract. But at some point, if they're not doing a better job than you, they'll come back.
Right, exactly.
So, but you have to, in this world, a gym, you have to be accountable.
Yeah, I just think, gym owner as a person, like, what did you do wrong? And that's all about, accountability, self-ownership. Like, if, now it's a different discussion if an owner of another gym is contacting your coaches and saying, hey, can you come coach for me? Like, yes, free world, you're allowed to do that, but that's
happened. I got
Sam has gotten a few messages.
Request last week from another gym owner who was looking for a coach.
Yeah, so, I mean, the one that opened in Westfield was contacting two of my coaches.
Yeah, if you were to do that, I'll say this, right?
Yeah.
If I wanted, because we have part-time and full-time here, right? And I know you do too as well, right? If you lost a full-time coach, like, that's something you have to fill pretty quickly. If you know that there's a coach at another gym that wants a full-time career, you can absolutely contact that person, but the first thing you should do out of respect is contact the owner. That's where, like, you can fix a lot of issues, and not a lot, like, when there's a lot of gray area, we as owners and people that are very protective of our business are going to assume the worst. But let's say we lose a full-time coach, and I know there's a coach at CrossFit Waldwick that wants to be a full-time coach. Before I even contact that person, I will contact the owner of that gym,
Like a baseball club.
yeah, this is what I'm doing.
Can I reach out?
Tampering, illegal tampering.
Is Aaron Judge available?
Yeah. And that I think that is as professional as way to do it, but that's where I don't know, CrossFitters by nature and a lot of owners and coaches are very type A, control freaks, my way or the highway. They just want to do what they want to do, where I think you'd have to kind of...
Aren't we competing more with the F45s and the Orange Theories out there anyway? Like, how do you feel? Where's your competition coming from? Are they other gyms or are they other fitness clubs?
So that's a good question. I think that they are certainly competition in the sense that now there's, where there was maybe you and your big box gym in your town, now there's an F45, maybe there's an Alpha Fit Club, there's an Orange Theory, there's a bunch of other boutique fitness options that are doing low barrier to entry offers, $99 for your first month, first week free, all that stuff. And so what I mean is if you have someone that maybe was going to be a Bison member, but they went to F45 on a free trial, then they went to Alpha on a free trial, then they went to Orange Theory on a free trial, there's a high likelihood that they're going to like one of those, that it's going to be enough for them. They don't know that they want to do, no one wants to do wall walks, right? But they don't know that they want to do double unders and get their first pull-up. They don't know that. It's only until they step in your doors and they see other people doing it and they see progress in themselves, I could really climb that rope one day. And so it just puts up more obstacles in your way of getting new people to try you out. And so I feel like they're not direct competition in terms of doing the same thing as us, but they are certainly digging into the same pie that we're trying to dig into.
It's so funny because, Karen, she's a great member. She's a 6 a.m.er, McKinney.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she used to be at Orange Theory. And I said, because I was there was this podcast from Huberman talking about how there was a physiologist and the woman was saying how cardio is not the way to go, like just cardio, because you jack up your cortisol, you need to do strength training, you need to do muscle building. And she kind of pooped on Orange Theory. And
so the Stacey Sims one that was just out, right?
Yeah. So I was like, oh, well, you know what? I've never been to Orange Theory. I should try it. And she said I had been there before I went to Bison, and it wasn't bad. Like, had I not even tried Bison, I probably would have just kind of hung around Orange Theory, and I would have thought that was enough. And I think that's the point you're making, is that a lot of people don't know what they're missing because it's enough for them.
Yeah, it's not bad, right? But I think, you're that cardio hamster wheel for a lot of people that does get tiring, but they immediately think that CrossFit is this huge leap of faith that's like, no, I could never do that. And so what's that stepping stone from group fitness that's more boot campy, not a ton of strength training, to CrossFit, which is extremely technical, high skill, even though we modify and scale and coach.
Right.
There just seems to be people who are like, I could never. Yeah. And you're like, you're at Orange, so you're running on a treadmill for 24 minutes. You're doing swings, you're doing rowing. Yeah. You can certainly do CrossFit.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, what you said prior to coming into the gym today, Tim, is really, because we talk about new leads and how hard it can be to get new leads sometimes. When we started our gyms, there were not a lot of group fitness gyms, period. The only group fitness gym you would ever see would be at your Globo gym in the corner at 6 p.m. on Tuesdays.
Right.
And now I think CrossFit has really been a trailblazer for boutique class fitness. Like, I really am a strong believer, bias or not, CrossFit changed the fitness landscape as much as maybe any program in the history of fitness, because everyone's doing group fitness now. Where when I started working out, I used to just go to the gym and bro lift. There was never any of that. No. And now it's probably the majority of gyms, I feel like. Is every time you come, it's Pilates and yoga and F45, Orange Theory, boot camp. So that is a struggle for a lot of gyms. Like, yes, maybe Tim's a little, we have new CrossFit down the street. But I'll tell you what, if an Alpha Fit opened up down the street from us, I would feel the same exact way. Because it's not just CrossFit competitors that you're worried about. It's other group fitness competitors that you're worried about.
That's right.
Now, you have opened up a third gym. When did this one open? What's it called? Just give us a little bird's eye view of what Indoor is.
So Indoor Training Co. in Scotch Plains opened November 27th of last year. So we're nearing the 1 year mark there.
Okay.
And I think the easiest way to look at it is kind of how I just mentioned. It's a big gap between what the other group fitness offerings are doing and what CrossFit's doing. We're trying to fill that void where we're still bringing in quite a bit of strength training, still structuring classes very much like CrossFit, where the beginning of the class will have dedicated strength training. It's not always done in the cardio circuit, right? It's not just you're always on the clock. It's like, no, hey, we got 20 minutes to focus on Bulgarian split squats or Arnold presses or things that we do in CrossFit, things that have been done in the bodybuilding world for years, things that physical therapists love to do.
Right.
We're doing that in the beginning of class. And then our conditioning and cardio, is a little bit like lower skilled movements, things that, people can bring some intensity to. And then we vary our cardio between, sprints and then longer paced out efforts. And so just trying to find that stepping stone between us at CrossFit and then maybe what the next group fitness offering is doing.
Got it. What would be the primary difference between your CrossFit affiliates and indoor?
So primary difference, right? No barbell training right now. We actually just put in landmines, so we will use landmines for those that know it, right? But we won't be doing any Olympic lifts with a barbell. No cleans, no snatches, and there won't be any pure squat, deadlift with a barbell as well.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing right there. And then in terms of the gymnastic sides or body weight side of things, there's no rings, so we're not doing dips. We're not doing inversions. So in general, kind of like across the board, took away a lot of the low-hanging fruit of either intimidation factors or movement selection, in my opinion, that tends to have a higher risk of injury. People with bad shoulders maybe shouldn't be doing kipping, snatches, heavy jerks overhead, right? And so I think we felt like at CrossFit we were having to modify a lot, and then people were starting to feel like maybe they were not winning in the gym. They felt like they were losing because everyone wants to do what's up on the board, right? And if it's day 101 and you can't do what's on the board, you start to feel like it's a loss, and it shouldn't feel like a loss, right? Us as coaches will say it's not a loss. You're still doing something. You're still doing more than 99% of the people, but this gives an opportunity through movement selection that removes a lot of that, and so I feel like people feel like they're modifying or scaling less.
Got it. Now, I think that's a huge market for people that either are doing or used to do CrossFit.
I can tell you there are a bunch of people listening right now who are like,
not in their head.
That sounds pretty good to me as an athlete.
Right, absolutely. Do you still have like that group feel, community feel, hey, we're doing everything together, kind of like, have you felt, because you've seen both sides of this now, and I know indoors only about a year in, do you have the same kind of feel there when you're doing things together?
So I specifically structured the classes because we all know, and I try to tell this to people, like one of the reasons I think we have such strong bonds across this, not just because we sweat together, but it is that dedicated strength time where, let's say Sam and I are partnered up, and I had just met Sam, but we've got 20 minutes to do 5x5 back squat. There's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of me and Sam having to talk to each other, right? And then, so people start to get to know each other, and then they're there at they're at the 5 a.m. 3 days a week, and so there's 3 strength training sessions a week. So that after a month, you've talked to this person for 4 hours, right? Like people start to find these really strong bonds, and now they start to hang out outside of the gym, and so I felt like when I went to Orange Theory and I tried out other classes, it was get in, get out, right? Like 2-minute warm up on your machines, everybody ready to go, boom, boom, great job team, everyone gone, next class in. And I'm like, where's the opportunity for anyone to actually make a social connection? Some people don't want to, but I wanted to create that space where these bonds are going to get strong. And I already see it at Endure. I see people who are the regulars at certain class times, and it's like, they're texting each other, are you coming, where you been, that kind of stuff. And so, maybe it's not as crazy as CrossFit, but within the first year, I feel like there's already a strong connection between our clients and the class times.
That's awesome.
Are you programming it?
No. So one of the guys who I've worked with on the program, his name is Tommy Mazzio. He was a former CrossFit affiliate owner. I don't know if you ever remember Mike DeMarco.
Yes, I remember DeMarco.
So DeMarco and Tommy co-owned Motives, which was called CrossFit The Helm at the time, but Motives was down in like the Manalapan area. And Mike was a college wrestler. He went back and was coaching at Rutgers, like strength and conditioning for wrestlers. And Tommy was a young kid when he started with him, like in his teens. And Tommy's from Kenilworth, which is very close to where we are with Endure. And he ended up leaving and wanting to go to physical therapy school. So Tommy's in his third year at Kane University, getting his doctorate in physical therapy. And he's gone the way of, training for longevity, right? He's super invested. As much as you're invested into CrossFit, he's invested into Huberman and, Peter Attia and listening to every podcast and what you should be doing. And so he takes the idealistic, this is what we should be doing for longevity training into account. For instance, would be, we do 4 weeks strength cycles and 4 week programming at indoor. Last month, we had 4 weeks in a row on a day was 25 minutes of steady state cardio.
Okay.
4 weeks in a row, right? Of like, let's get better at this stuff, guys. Let's build our aerobic capacity. And like in a CrossFit gym, you're like, nah, we're not gonna do that, man. Everyone's gonna hate that, right?
Oh, everyone hates those days.
It just sounds horrible already.
But by the fourth time, people were PRing their distances, and there was this like every time they finished, it wasn't boring, right? In the moment, maybe it was boring, but then it's gone after 4 weeks. And so the programming is something that he'll bring his like kind of macro strength structure to me, and then we'll look at the conditioning, and then we'll change some stuff. And I come from the client satisfaction, like, is that going to be fun? Are they going to like that? Is that cool? And he's much more like, it doesn't need to be cool, Tim. And I'm like, yes, it does, Tommy. And so we go back and forth, but he is literally the kind of director of programming there. And then I just kind of oversee and then throw some things in there that I feel like would be more beneficial from a client satisfaction standpoint.
Got it.
What's the growth like for this versus your other two as you ramp up? And is the cost the same as your affiliates?
Monthly cost.
Yeah.
So indoor is the most expensive by $4. So our monthly unlimited is $215 at 908. It's $219 at indoor. We did do a pre-sale when we opened up, like a lot of gyms do. Growth wise, we're just about at 100 clients within less than a year, and then we've got another 30 on punch cards. So I'm very happy with that.
Great.
And then on the back end cost wise, we ended up purchasing the building, so it's been way more challenging from a cost perspective, building it out and everything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a whole different level of investment when you're buying a building, and there's more to it than just your gym there, too, right?
Yeah.
So you're also a landlord now.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But this sounds to me, question number 4: how do you provide options for everybody when it comes to pursuing health versus performance? We talked about this last week a little bit. But this is kind of like the RX Plus version of the answer, is that you're actually supplying a whole new gym. Can I ask, I don't know if you said this yet, how close is this in proximity to your CrossFit gyms? Is it in between?
It's in between.
Okay, so do you have people that are doing both, have left CrossFit, are just doing indoor? Because again, part of this sounds like, yes, it's a business idea, but I also feel like you're doing this in service of the people, saying like, hey, we still want to work with you. You trust us, we trust you. I know that you guys don't want to do X, Y, and Z anymore. Look at this new gym I have for you.
Right.
You might get in the best shape of your life, and you're not going to be in pain anymore. You don't have to feel like you're losing at the gym.
Yeah. So we have both. The answer is both to that question. We've got former 908 members that are now current indoor members and don't go to 908 anymore. We've got former 908 members that are indoor members that have a punch card back at 908, and we have current 908 members who have a punch card at indoor. So there is
Got it. Okay.
This cross-pollination that's happening between them, which is great because, like I said, from indoor in either direction, it's 10 minutes to either gym. And so kind of being right in the center, we did cannibalize ourselves a little bit. We probably lost about 20 total clients between both gyms. But we're in a town it's a great town. And Aaron really encouraged me to try indoor. I had been working with Tommy on the programming and the whole theory behind it, and then when the building became available, I wanted to move our Westfield location to indoor because the timing of the building closing and my lease were almost like they were 2 months apart. I was like, let's just do it.
Yeah.
And Aaron was very much like, you've been spending all this time working on this concept, like why don't you give it a shot?
Yeah.
And so she really encouraged us to do it, and like you said, we're trying to give an option for on the CrossFit side of the spectrum. We're trying to give an option for people that maybe feel like they feel personally that they've aged up and out of CrossFit. They can't do, or they don't want to do certain movements anymore. And they want to train more for longevity, a little lower impact. And then we want to give an option on the other side for those that have been doing a lot of cardio, HIIT, boot camp stuff, to have a stepping stone into the strength training world where it doesn't feel so intimidating. So we're trying to hit it from both sides.
And I think it goes to show you and Aaron and your coaches that these clients, these people, like they invest in you. They want to be with you. If you lost 20 people between Westfield and Berkeley Heights, but they're still with you.
Totally.
They just had a different gym. Whereas if they left you at Berkeley Heights, Westfield, and indoor did not exist,
Yeah.
They left you still at some point, and they're going somewhere else.
Absolutely.
And that relationship that you built with them over the years has really kind of just diminished because there was not that indoor option.
Yeah.
What do you think about that philosophy? Because I will say that seems to be something that's growing, that sort of in between. Like High Rocks is very similar to some of these philosophies that are being espoused here, and that's growing like crazy.
It is. You know, Tim just did a High Rocks.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did one with Aaron.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
New York City.
So I ended up having a diabetic episode out there.
Oh.
Like on the 6th 1K run, all of a sudden I felt my sugar and it was down like the 40s, and my legs just turned into tree trunks, and I was trotting, and Erin did her best to not look upset with me. Because I was actually doing okay up until that point. But overall, we finished like 11th in our age group, which was pretty cool.
awesome.
I think out of like 80 teams. Our sled push, we were third.
I believe that.
Of all the teams,
The two of you.
we were third on the sled push time, and I was like, yes, we did something well. But it was cool, man. They definitely have a very strong community. They put on an awesome event for how long that thing was. They were running heats for like 14 hours straight.
Wow.
It was crazy.
I could see a lot of High Rocks athletes wanting to go to indoor and be like, this might be good prep training for me.
Good point.
How do you,
There's no barbell
Right.
at High Rocks.
Right.
There's no high level gymnastics
that's
at
right.
High Rocks.
It's similar philosophy. And longer cardio, longer piece cardio.
Yeah, you have to train.
We're doing a lot of like our workouts where we differ from CrossFit sometimes, which I like because it's tough. Is like we'll have a 25-minute workout, but every 5 minutes you start with something like, let's say you do 25 swings and 15 push-ups, and then the remainder of the 5 minutes you finish out on a machine.
Okay.
That starts to get really hard for a CrossFitter because you have 3.5 minutes on a rower every time. You're like thinking, man, I'm going to row 1,000 every 5 minutes on top of all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like
It's a great workout.
the mental shift to go into indoor, like people are like, oh, indoor is just a boot camp. They're just I'm like, it's not just a boot camp. I'm like, I'll give you 2 70-pound kettlebells and make you do tempo front squats, and you tell me that's a boot camp.
How do you feel about this? Because if you're a CrossFit purist, this is heresy. This
For
is
sure.
not cool.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there are a lot of people thinking my joints are kind of friggin' beat up. Maybe this sounds like better for me.
Yeah.
So how do you feel as a CrossFit purist? This is not something that Adrian Bosman, Dave Castro would be like, oh yeah, this is cool. Let's
I'll say this. I think Adrian Bosman would be a little bit more anti than I am. Like I am a CrossFit purist, but I am also a people purist. Like I want people to be happy. I want to help people. I want people to feel healthy. I think one of the biggest issues we have in this world coming up on an election that never gets talked about is the health of people. People don't work out. They're in front of screens all day. They eat like crap. And I know for a fact, as an affiliate owner of over 10 years, people are not going to come here. It's too intimidating. It's too hard. It's too hot in the gym in the summer. Like, the people are too intense. No one wears clothes when they work out. Like, what the hell's going on? It's intimidating. And they won't go to another place, or they'll quit because no one's supporting them.
Right. So then what's the answer then? If you opened up 3 different styles of fitness, and now you're, instead of having a community of a couple hundred people, now you're helping 600, 800 people.
That's huge.
Are you, is that blasphemy? Like, should you be ousted from the CrossFit community? Or are you a fitness purist where you're saying, look, something is better than nothing? And I'm not saying something in the sense that like Endure is just something. Like we feel wholeheartedly that we're putting as much effort into Endure as we are 908.
I feel the same way about Endure, Sam, as I do about High Rocks, in that I think at some point in our lifetime as gym owners, that's going to be the trend, is an indoor type gym.
I feel like from a growth perspective, if I was an MBA type, I would say I would open up an indoor / High Rock style gym because I can bring a potentially greater number of people into the gym than say pure CrossFit. We don't need that here at Bison because we're like, if we had another 150 members, we would like die.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't work.
But if I had a new facility and I said, just the way Tim is thinking, I have 2 facilities. I need a new facility. I'm going to grow this. How do I get the most potential growth from it?
Cast the biggest net, right?
Yeah, it's not necessarily going to be CrossFit because, like you said, the 1% of the 1% are what they're interested in. But for all the people who do listen to Peter T. and Huberman, and they're hugely popular,
Huge, yeah.
This sort of fits that bill.
100%. And what's one of the first things Tim talked about with Endure? It wasn't the workouts. It wasn't the endurance. It was the relationship building. It was the strength sessions where people talk to each other for 4 hours. Now there's a relationship with guys that come at 5 a.m. 3 days a week.
Well, he's stealing that from CrossFit.
Well, using his experience and knowing that, hey, it's one of my first lines I ever said with CrossFit. It's not for everyone. Everyone should try it though. I think everyone should try CrossFit, it's not for everyone.
And remember, everything I'm putting into indoor is because of my experience with CrossFit.
Absolutely.
It's like I'm stealing it from myself, right? This worked here, so I think it's going to work here.
That's right.
But that's
right. It's not like you weren't into CrossFit. You were an affiliate owner for many, many years. You saw what worked, and we all know community is one of the biggest parts of CrossFit.
Absolutely.
And I believe, Sam, that if we go down the path of opening up another facility, I don't think, especially if it's close, I don't think it should be another CrossFit. I think it should be an indoor type gym, because you might lose people here at Bison if something like that opened in Wyckoff, if that's what we ended up doing, or Ridgewood, right? I would rather them leave to us at a different gym than leave to another one that has the same idea or a different group fitness, or they just quit.
Let's open up an indoor franchise.
Yeah. Tim, can you stick around for another half hour after class? But no, I love the idea. And I think here's another thing to kind of put Tim on a pedestal is going to make him uncomfortable, is that he's been a kind of like a trailblazer himself for a long time. And if he feels strongly about something and he goes and does it, and it has a little bit of success early on, which it sounds like it is so far to this point, people should follow that. That's what we all do. I mean, I hate to like pee on anyone's bubble here, but like everyone, your ideas have come from other things as well, other inspirations. And Tim has proven time and time again that when he makes a calculated decision and goes for it, there's a thoughtful reason behind it. It's not just a pie in the sky. Oh, I love this, so other people will too. So if you are out there and you own a gym and you're not sure if you can do this again, or you don't want to open up another CrossFit, this is a great option for you to pursue that can feed the same people that you've been feeding for the past 10 to 12 years, but they has to quote him, aged out of CrossFit.
And grow the market.
Right, and grow the market. And still, I mean, why'd you do this? You're making an impact. CrossFit or not. And I'll say this, fitness, relationships, it's going to outlast CrossFit. Healthy lifestyles, our relationships with people, like we love CrossFit. Those things are more important and will outlast CrossFit, especially with all the turmoil with their leadership. It's always back and forth. How many CEOs have we had in 4 years? How many CEOs has Tim had in 4 years? One, right? Aaron.
Yeah, exactly. and I think like the other thing to remember too is we didn't open up indoor to be CrossFit light. Like we're not attempting to be CrossFit, right? We are attempting to be our own thing that is unique. So I don't want people to think like, oh, he could have just offered CrossFit light at his gym.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a completely different structure to the programming and to the mindset going into it as well. So
have you ever done that at CrossFit where it's like, hey, we have our WOD classes, but then we have something similar, but it's more like what indoor? Have you ever done that, like gotten away from WODs?
We toyed around with it for a long time, looked at other kids that were doing it successfully.
A lot of gyms do that.
Like a boot camp type?
We just never felt like we had, maybe if I had 2 rooms,
Yeah.
I would have done that.
Right.
I didn't want to have a competing in the same space. And then I didn't want to just start adding random classes to the schedule just to try to offer something different. So it never came to fruition, but certainly we thought about it.
So wrapping this up, we just kind of touched on the leadership of CrossFit. And, we have a relationship with some of those guys, and we respect the job they're trying to do, and we love interacting with them. We just had the head of global affiliates at our gym a couple weeks ago, JD Coons. And here's a question I want to ask you as someone that's been in the space for so long. You've seen it, from Asics and basketball shorts to what it is now. Do you feel that you are a part of something bigger than just 908 Athletics because you're with CrossFit? Or do you feel like you're more now 908 Athletics and indoor?
I think it was a bit of a shift for us. I think early days it was, I'm a part of CrossFit, right? Like I love this thing. I'm a part of the bigger movement. We were, the dirty warehouse spaces, we were kind of hidden. And so I was like, yeah, that's who I'm aligning with. And then as the years went on and you just start to realize, like, no one's coming to save you, right? Like your processes, you got to create them. Like you got to onboard people. You have to try to keep them, retention. You got to teach them. You have to hire your own staff. You have to hire your own cleaners. You got to write your own programming. Like all of these things made me not upset with CrossFit. I was very clear on the fact that I was paying them this much money to use the name. I didn't expect more from them. But as the years went on and we became more successful and we became much more of a business than just this hobby gym that I wanted to work out in, it was what Aaron and I had built, what our staff was doing, what our staff was, leading classes, how they interact with clients. That was us.
Yes.
CrossFit didn't help that at all.
Yep.
Some might argue that CrossFit, the name, actually probably inhibited people from coming through our doors because they just immediately, oh, that's too intense, I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's true. But what I'm saying is I think nowadays more people would run from the CrossFit name than run to the CrossFit name.
Got it.
That's why I truly believe that, which sucks because I love what we do at CrossFit.
Right.
And then I think now we rebranded in 2020 when Glassman made his famous comment. We had always wanted to, and that was just the impetus, like, let's do it. Let's just come under one umbrella as 908 Athletics.
You're still an affiliate owner. I mean, but you still affiliate with CrossFit.
Both are affiliates, CrossFit 908 and CrossFit 908 Central. So if anyone wants to look them up, we are still affiliates, still present on all of our dues. They're coming due this month. We're paying them, don't worry.
But you rebranded your whole organization as just
as 908 Athletics, right? I think LA Fitness, right? There's an LA Fitness in New Jersey. It doesn't matter, right? 908 Athletics could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be in 908. But yes, we wanted to be our own brand and be separate from just the word CrossFit. And so, now that CrossFit is coming out with a lot of assistance for affiliates and things like that, it's kind of like, a day late and a dollar short for me. Like I'm too far along to feel like they're going to help me. I mean, hopefully just all their marketing and CrossFit for Everyone will bring some new leads to the door.
Right.
But at this point, I feel like I'm more closely knit to my community at 908 Athletics than I am aligned with the brand of CrossFit.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, dude?
I agree that the amount of help that CrossFit can help is much more valuable to someone that's probably years 1 through 5. Like they can help you clear. How do you read a commercial lease? Like that's something a lot of people just don't know anything about when they're opening up a gym. How do you train your coaches? They provide the level 1, level 2 certifications. So I wrestle with this back and forth that without CrossFit, I don't know if Bison would be around.
I don't think 908 would be around.
Yeah. Like
because we were that unique, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You were like kind of like the rebel that like 1 or 2 people tried out. Like you were the guy that was doing it in a gym, walking upstairs with dumbbells. And then you were like, dude, there's a CrossFit in Hoboken. I'm joining no matter what. That got you in. And now look, because CrossFit was on Hoboken, there's 3 successful, awesome gyms and thousands of lives that you guys have impacted. And here we are talking on a podcast all these years. So there is, sometimes I struggle with this, like, yeah, Bison, if we deaffiliated, which we're not, but if we did, we'd be fine. All right. There's like a loyalty factor that I do struggle with. And we love the open here. You can't really do the open if you're not paying an affiliate fee,
right?
Like logging scores. I mean, that's not why we are affiliated with CrossFit, but there is a loyalty factor, but also I only own 1 gym.
I feel that loyalty factor though too.
Yeah.
I would never de-affiliate and then program the workout friend in my gym. Do you know what I mean? Like
Good point.
there is respect there, and 908 wouldn't be around if we weren't for CrossFit. But the other side of that coin is,
if you had failed, they wouldn't have helped you either. There was nothing that they could have done
to your point, there's been several gyms around us that have gone out of business.
Yep.
The name CrossFit didn't keep that in business. It's what that owner did inside that gym to promote the gym, to keep the clients, that determined their success. So while CrossFit kind of like lit the fire for some people to come in early days, it's what we did inside the gym. We're not a franchise, right? People don't realize that. People think, oh, I went to one CrossFit gym, it sucked, I'm not going to go to another gym. No, we're a pizza shop. There's 11 pizza shops in every single town, right? They all make pizza differently, but they all make pizza, right?
Yes.
We do CrossFit. We just do it differently than other CrossFit gyms, right? Yep. And some might not like it because we're not hardcore enough, and then some might love it because we are maybe a little bit more cautious about the workouts that we program and stuff. And so I still feel that's all CrossFit.
Absolutely.
Maybe we're just not purists, but we're fitness purists. We love, we love helping people out.
Yep. And it's, at the end of the day, it's your business. You need to make the decision. What do you think about that, Sam?
I mean, I have always been a CrossFit purist, but as I get older and I see my athletes, I also see I'm so protective of them in terms of injury, in terms of movements, in terms of volume, in terms of what they're doing. And this Endure thing's got a lot of appeal to it. Like, I'm just thinking, how many more people could we potentially reach, unfortunately, without the CrossFit moniker, because or some of these movements? And I'm like, boy, that's a devil's deal, because you know what? I got to where I was because of CrossFit. I got to who I am because of CrossFit. And I'm not going to teach others that because of what? Like, because I'm older, because I'm afraid of, like, you know, CrossFit is unfiltered. It's like smoking an unfiltered cigarette. Like there's nothing preventing you from running off the rails or reaching your highest potential. All of these kind of other fitnesses are kind of putting some guardrails down a little bit, and training wheels. And that's not always bad.
No.
But on the other hand, I would ultimately love to give everyone the fullest unfiltered experience that I got, that you guys got, that you guys went through. A lot of lumps and bumps along the way.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that to me is the best experience. But unfortunately, you can't really offer that to everybody.
Well, it's like control what you can control.
Most people are not going to find that. So if I can find a large segment of the population that will actually not, you know, engage, because I think they'll be like, oh, indoor sounds better than CrossFit does, I'll give it a shot. Then maybe we get more people in the door. I don't know. It's like, this is sort of, but that's sort of my philosophy and thinking.
I mean, so one quick thing on it, because I know we could probably talk on this topic forever, is, you know, I think about, I'm friendly with Denise Thomas, right? And I think she's as purest of a coach as you can come across. And I think that, you know, she would vehemently like disagree with me on this topic, but I think the ideal of CrossFit, and again, the business of CrossFit, diverge at certain points. Like, I don't think you're going to keep a client for 6 months who you're making stay on PVC overhead squats.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to be able to do that. Now, that could just be me projecting my own insecurity of losing a client.
Yep.
But when we found CrossFit, right, the level of coaching around modifications and what you should and shouldn't be doing with mobility restrictions and kipping is not what it is today.
Correct.
Right? CAP programming, right? They've got 3 different levels of it now, right? They've got your RX, they've got your intermediate, they've got your beginner as well, right? And so CrossFit, even in its purest sense, it's still evolved, right? It's offered a foundations in the open. It has still evolved, even if you want to say, no, CrossFit's for everyone. Everyone can do an overhead squat. No, they can't.
That's true.
And some people should not. Does that mean CrossFit's dangerous? No, but it means that the affiliate that you're going to needs to have someone knowledgeable enough in place to ensure that they're not giving you a movement that's not the proper dose for your body.
Got it. That's where it's an equal responsibility. We can point finger again.
Yes.
We talked about this last week. Point the finger, point the finger, point the finger, point the finger. The owner, if you're going to own a gym, you're going to take on that responsibility. It's like one of the greatest jobs in the world, but it's also a huge responsibility that should keep you up at night sometimes, right? That is where it comes down to that owner being able to really filter, you know, the CrossFit message to the people that they're actually working with, right? CrossFit has set the example, like you said. That's a good example. Remember when the Open started, it was, here's the workout. You know, so they
had so many members that were pissed. They put double unders in the beginning of the workout, and you'd be like, oh, why did I make them sign up?
But yeah, so I mean, even you can say the leadership within CrossFit has changed so many times. Dave Castro's fired, he comes back. Don Fall, Eric Rosa, Greg Glassman. Now we hear Greg Glassman now on YouTube now more than ever with Savan. It's like, geez, this would have been nice 6 years ago. But all those changes, like, we haven't seen anything change within our affiliate with all, like, it doesn't matter. And I hate saying that because I know it's a huge it's a huge business. It's worth a lot of money. But to me, it just doesn't come to it, you know, to circle this back to what are we a part of here?
Yeah.
I really think you have to, it's your gym. That's what you are. That's what you're part of the affiliate, your coaches, your community. And CrossFit isn't really going to impact a gym that's been around this long. It remains to be seen if how much impact it will have on these gyms that are, you know, in year 1, year 2 version of 908.
Right.
So, guys, that's going to wrap up the conversation with Tim.
Thank you guys very much for having me on. I really appreciate this opportunity.
I got a lot out of listening to this. I knew I would. And I try to always channel my inner Tim as often as possible, even with the shirt color choice.
Perfect. I would like to say before we cut off, you know, besides thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
You've said that you've looked up to us, but we truly do look up to Bison.
Yeah.
The community you guys have, the representation that you do bring to local competitions. You guys had 14 teams at our Barbells and Beers, you know, the amount of people that you have in the gym, your classes are full, the energy in your gym. I think as much as you maybe said you looked up to 908 truly looks up to Bison. You guys do a great job.
Yeah, definitely a mutual beneficial relationship there, and iron sharpens iron. All right, thank you guys. See you next week.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.